Our first speaker this afternoon, I didn't even have to write up an intro. I've introduced Wayne a number of times, and there really is no way, because you got to run through the kind of the laundry list of stuff he does, and he is the busiest man in this town, without a doubt. He is the executive producer of Sin City Justice. He is in the RJ as a columnist twice a week. He is on. You see him on Newsmax TV every afternoon, 5 until 6. He has his own nationwide radio show from 3 until 6, heard on 790 Talk Now, Talk That Rocks, every afternoon and across the nation. I don't know how he fits it on the same business card, but here he is, folks, my friend, my colleague, Wayne Allyn Root. War now.
Hi, everyone. How are you? You know what I have to say? Build the wall. With California. Build the wall between Nevada and California. I don't know how many of you heard, but if, the things that go on, I do a 3-hour radio show every afternoon. As Kevin said, right here at 790, and I try and keep it kind of local. It's a Nevada flavor show. It's a Las Vegas flavored show, but it's nationwide. It's in 29 markets. I start in Dallas next week, Chicago the week after, Minneapolis the week after. I'm in San Antonio and 10 Texas cities. Was supposed to start 2 weeks ago, and then Hurricane Harvey hit, and they all got flooded. So in the next 2 weeks or so, I'll be in 10 cities other than Dallas in Texas. So the show's going great, and I talk all the time. When you have to talk 15 hours a week, you got to come up with a lot of stuff to talk about, and it's so easy with Donald Trump as president of the United States. I mean, this is the greatest time to be a talk show host or a late-night comedian. There's never been a better time in the history of the world. Something interesting every single day. And the thing that keeps me most amused is the state of California. State of California is, for lack of a better word, retarded. They have now passed a law that makes it a crime. This is not a joke. I'm not being a late-night comedian. This is a serious, true story. They've passed a law that says you have to call people by the correct pronoun, Mr., Mrs., or whatever the term is if you're transgender or you don't know what you are. I don't even know what that term is, by the way. I think it's Zer. But in any case, they decided to start with nursing homes and rehab facilities where many people have AIDS, HIV, they're gay, they're mixed up, they don't know if they're a man or a woman, and they literally say if you as a healthcare worker see a man and call them Miss, or see a woman and call them Mr., or you don't know what they are and you call them by the wrong pronoun, 1 year in prison and a $1,000 fine. California has lost their mind. Here's another story from California. In a Northern California school recently, this happened last month, a little girl had a little boy that was her friend in the spring, and then she came back to school when school started in the middle of August, a couple weeks ago, and the little boy friend had transitioned into a little girl. I don't know about you, but I'm really confused. I thank God this didn't happen when I was a kid. The little boy now believes he's a little girl. I don't know how you make that decision at the age of 7. I don't know how any parents allow you to have an operation at the age of 7. But the little boy believes he's a little girl, and he's changed his name for whatever it was, say it was Joe, to Jane. Well, she ran across the playground when she saw her old friend and said, Joe, Joe. He reported her to the principal. She reported her. It reported her to the principal and said, she's offended me. That's not my name anymore. I'm not a boy, I'm a girl. Or maybe I'm not a girl, I'm a boy. I can't remember which one it was. I am confused. She was called to the principal's office and she was punished. I've never heard anything like it in my life. 6- and 7-year-old girls responsible for someone who thinks they are what they're not. It's crazy. And then the third story I wanted to bring you is just a Jesuit church in California recently got with the program with all the statues being taken down, and they took down their statue of Jesus because they felt it was offensive to some people. True story. Jesuit Catholic Church took down a statue of Jesus Christ. You can't believe it. If I didn't tell you it was true, you'd think I was being a late-night comedian. It was about 15 years ago. I gave a speech in front of a crowd of 1,000 Republicans in San Francisco. And I opened up with the following joke. It's really interesting to be in a town where you could be openly gay and you got to be a closet Republican. And the crowd loved it, and they gave me a standing ovation. It's 15 years later, and I never thought it would apply to anywhere but San Francisco. But you do understand that MGM Properties, you can be openly transgender, but you gotta be a closet conservative. You understand that, right? You understand the employees at MGM fear for their jobs if Jim Mirren and his staff find out they are Republicans and disagree with his extremely radical liberal views. And if you read the RJ, you know I am on his tail 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Wait till you see my column coming up on Sunday. I'm gonna read it to you today. You're gonna be the first to hear the column, but I'm gonna hound this guy till his board fires him. Jim Mirren is done, finished. Not in my town, baby. You don't even know, okay? An MGM employee called me up because he listens to my radio show, and he calls me up, and he says, where do you live? And that always gets you really nervous, right? Where do you live? Well, so I said, I live in Henderson. He says, I live in Henderson, and I hear you talking on the radio that you live in Anthem Country Club, and I live right down the street at Horizon Ridge. Could I please come to your house? I swear to you, I'm a Republican, I'm a conservative, I'm nice, I'm not armed, I'm not gonna hurt you, and I've got my 5-year-old daughter in my arms. You talk on your show all the time about your dog, Pacino, and she wants to meet Pacino, and I've got something very important to hand you. And I said, what do you have to hand me? He said, the new MGM transgender policy. And so I said, great, come on down. So he came to my house, and his daughter played with my dog Pacino while I looked at the MGM transgender policy. He left it with me. That's how important he thought it was. And for those of you who don't know, the MGM's new policy, as handed down by Jim Mirren, is that it doesn't matter what you are. It doesn't matter what your driver's license says you are. It only matters what you believe you are. And if a man, 300 pounds, sweating, looking like a sex offender, walks into the women's bathroom with your little daughter in it, not one MGM employee is allowed to question him, ask him for ID, touch him, or turn him around. If a man walks into the women's locker room, if a man walks into the women's spa, if a man walks into the women's jacuzzi, you're not allowed to question him. Security can't go near him. What it says in his ID doesn't matter. Wayne Root will make a prediction. Mark it down. There will be a murder at an MGM property. A little girl will be murdered in the women's room or the women's locker room because this maniac, liberal, radical, out of control, leftist nutcase by the name of Jim Mirren is in charge. And he's putting forth policies that protect the 0.0000001% while screwing over women and children and families that are his customers that spend all their money at MGM. And so my great friend Kevin Wall, what did he say in the introduction? We got to stick together. We have to put companies that offend conservatives out of business. Bring them to their knees. And by the way, I've had conservatives who disagree with me on this. I've had a few conservatives that have said, Wayne, you're starting something here. If you start this, then they're going to do the same thing to us. And I said, are you a blind, deaf moron? They're doing this to you already. Any conservative is hounded out of business. The guy who headed Mozilla, you know Mozilla, the high-tech company? All he did was give a $1,000 personal check to the traditional marriage PAC in California that was fighting against gay marriage. And by the way, in the interests of openness here, just so you know, I'm conservative to the right of Attila the Hun, Ronald Reagan, Barry Goldwater, and Donald Trump on every issue in the world except gay rights. I've always been very pro-gay rights. I'm in Hollywood. I've been an actor. I've been a game show host. I've been a TV host, very successful one. And I've produced 3 major hit TV shows, and I work with gays every day. I am a Republican conservative who's totally open-minded and does not mind gay marriage because I've always said if marriage is good for a man and a woman, then why shouldn't it be good for a man and a man? Maybe it'll be better for him. So let's try it. So I've never even had a problem with gay rights. But transgender rights and allowing men to walk into women's room when I have 4 children, including a little daughter, whole different story. And this is what I said on Bill Maher's show last year on Real Time on HBO. He said to everyone on the stage something about transgender rights. What do you think about it, Wayne Root? And I said, well, I'm for gay rights, and I happen to be for gay marriage. And he said, wow. And the whole crowd said, wow. And I said, this is a bridge too far. You don't get it. you're going to lose the election and Donald Trump's going to win because you people are too extreme. We give you an inch and you take a mile. We can accept gay marriage. It is being accepted right now. Nobody accepts paying for $100,000 transgender operations in the United States military. No one accepts their son going to war in a foxhole with a he-she with high heels and lipstick. It's too much. No one accepts it. You've gone out of your minds. You're out of control. You're radical. No mainstream person agrees with you. And Bill Maher, the audience booed me, and I thought they were going to, come up on the stage and murder me. And Bill Maher basically said, it's okay. He's probably right. We may lose the election because of that. He's right. It is a bridge too far for most middle Americans. At least he got that. There's some liberals who at least get it, even if they're liberal. Take Michael Moore. In the entire United States, there's only 2 people who loudly proclaimed Donald Trump will win the election. Wayne Allyn Root from day one, and Michael Moore. Michael Moore, the liberal filmmaker, the most revoltingly throw-up-in-place liberal you've ever met in your life. Michael Moore knows working-class white people from Michigan. And he knew that Trump was going to win all their votes, even though they normally don't vote or vote Democrat. And he kept warning liberals, Trump will win the election. And Michael Moore was right. And I kept writing commentaries and saying on my radio show, Michael Moore and I are on the same team on this one. He may hate Trump. He doesn't want him to win. But him and I see something no one else sees. He said it and I said it when Trump was down in every poll 12, 14, 15 points. The polls were lying. And they're lying today. Donald Trump is far more popular today than the day he was elected president. Far more popular. Those of you who know me, and I think if you didn't know me till now, you know I'm a very combative, aggressive New York Donald Trump type. Probably don't realize that I'm also a very religious person, and I'm a Jew who took Christ as my Savior 25 years ago. So I guess you would call me a Messianic Jew, completed Jew. And I read the Bible every day, and I pray every day, and I want to share with you my favorite prayer. And the reason why I want to do that is because this prayer applies to Donald Trump like no prayer I've ever read or no verse I've ever read in the Bible. I want you to hear it, and then I want you to think how it reminds you of Donald Trump. It's Isaiah 40:30. Even the youths shall faint and be weary, and the young men shall utterly fall. But those who wait on the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. And the moment Trump, that's been my favorite Bible verse for 25 years. And the moment that Trump announced for president, I said, that's his verse. Because like Ronald Reagan, he doesn't have to be perfect. Some of you are worried about DACA, right? Raise your hands. You worried about DACA? Maybe Trump's going the wrong way. It's getting a little squishy. I'll tell you today, I don't think that's happening, but that's okay. He might be getting a little squishy. We got to keep our boot on his neck and keep him on the right path and let him know, as I said on my radio show yesterday, I love Donald Trump. If you're listening, Donald, I love you, but you're not strong. 63 million Trump voters made you, and we're stronger than you. We gave you your strength. And so you can't betray us. Without us, you have nothing. We are what makes you strong. So you have got to stay with your base. And we have to make sure we've got that message day and night. But when I think of Reagan or Trump, I think of Isaiah 40:30. Because before Trump, even the youths of the Republican Party were faint and weary. And the young men utterly fell. The young men were utterly weak and afraid to speak up on college campuses. They were afraid of what people would think of them if they said they were a conservative or a Republican. And before Trump, people were waiting on the Lord, but they didn't have much hope. But Trump renewed our strength. Trump helped us mount up with wings like eagles. Trump helped us run and soar like eagles. Trump helped us walk and not faint. And Trump made liberals weak and faint. So there you have it. So he may not be perfect. My hero, Ronald Reagan, was not perfect. Reagan did some things that bother me. Reagan cut deals with Tip O'Neill and the Democratic Party, like Trump is cutting some deals with Democrats. Reagan cut deals to raise taxes, I believe, 8 times after he had already given us the greatest tax cut in the history of America. And he did it because he was naive enough. I could say this about my hero. Ronald Reagan was naive and ignorant to believe that Democrats will ever keep their word. They said, you do a few small tax increases and we will cut spending. And they let the tax increases happen immediately, and they never cut the spending. They lied about everything. Donald Trump will soon find out. He's trying to be nice. He's trying to cut deals. He's trying to be a compromiser. And most importantly, it's far above what all of us think. I believe in my gut this has nothing to do with Donald Trump getting squishy or Donald Trump being a secret Democrat. This is all about one thing only. Paul Ryan and Mitch McConnell suck, and they've got to go. And so, if you have to cut a couple of deals with the devil just to totally emasculate, viscerate, and embarrass Paul Ryan and Mitch McConnell, good. Then I'll take a couple of losses to get the overall win in the long run, because they've got to go. They're worse than Democrats because they're Judases and they're betraying us. Bad people. Paul Ryan and Mitch McConnell are not on our team. They are not on our side. So Trump is doing some good things too. Let me give you the list I jotted down just a few minutes ago while I was waiting, while Kevin was introducing me. I jotted down a list of what Trump has done good versus what Trump has done bad. And you'll recognize the bad right away. And you'll go, oh, okay, yeah, that's true. That's why I was getting worried about him. But not everybody recognizes the good because the mainstream media doesn't cover the good. So how many of you know, raise your hand if you know about Operation Choke Point? You know that name? Maybe only because you read it in my column in the RJ. Right. So Operation Choke Point was invented by Barack Obama 3 years ago to choke off businesses that he didn't like, even though they're all legal. 100% legal. Can you imagine the President of the United States ordering banks to close bank accounts, close merchant accounts, and close all loans to businesses he doesn't like, even though they're legal? That's a communist dictator, and that's what we had for 8 years. And you know who the two leading groups were that he wanted to choke off? Gold dealers and gun dealers. Now, keep in mind, who's the #1 advertiser on conservative talk radio and Fox News and my show, Newsmax TV? Gold dealers and gun dealers. You think he chose that by mistake? Of course he didn't. This was his attempt to kill us, put us out of business, bankrupt us, kill conservative talk radio. Because even he knew he couldn't stop me from talking on the Wayne Allyn Root Show. He couldn't stop Kevin Wall from talking on Live and Local now. Always got to say now. See? Now. Live and Local now. War now. We got a theme going here on 790. But he couldn't stop us. Even that would cause such an outcry that even Obama would get in trouble. So he tried to do it a sneakier way, much more brilliant way. Don't let anyone convince you. I know about what Obama is because he's my college classmate. You all know that, right? Class of '83, Columbia University, me and Barack Obama. Same day, same college, same major, both pre-law. I know him like the back of my hand. He's a communist. He's a Marxist. But he is a brilliant one because he convinced America that he's moderate. And so by being moderate and getting votes from mainstream people and independents and white America, because we are not a prejudiced nation, we are not a racist nation, many white people helped elect Barack Obama because they hoped for the best of what he would do. And they were very nice in that thought. They were very naive, they were very ignorant, they were very wrong, but they were very nice in their thought. And so we're not a racist nation and never have been. As a matter of fact, I'd like to point out during Hurricane Harvey, who came to the rescue? The Redneck Army and the Cajun Navy. All guys with tattoos up and down their arms and red Make America Great hats. And they reached out, and they didn't care if the person they were reaching for was black or white or Hispanic. They were out to save lives. And they weren't paid for it, and they got no credit for it. No one cared. They just are heroic Americans. We're not racist at all. So here's the list of what Trump has done good. He killed Operation Choke Point 1 month ago. Very quiet. Media didn't say one word. He killed it. It's done. It's gone forever. He saved thousands of small businessmen like me and thousands of conservative talk show hosts and producers and anyone involved in conservative talk radio or TV. He's appointed great judges, not just Judge Neil Gorsuch to the Supreme Court, but federal judges all over this country are to the right of Wayne Root. And that's good. Let me tell you, that's good. The border. It doesn't matter if you never get the wall. I want it badly, but I want it badly. It's my #1 thing. My #1 thing. But if you never got the wall, the word is out. They're not even coming anymore. The reason you need the wall is because when Trump is gone, the next guy could be Obama, and you've got to have the wall. But they're not coming anymore. Fact. They've stopped coming. They understand we don't want them. They'll be instantly arrested, and they'll be sent back. Border crossings are down by 75%. Way down. Way down. Listen, not only are they way down, but let me give you another stat that was just out yesterday at Breitbart. Refugees led into America, the lowest in 15 years. Under Obama, every single refugee we let in was Muslim. Under Trump, lowest in 15 years, and 80% are Christian refugees. It's good. The wall. We keep arguing whether the wall's going to get built, but Trump's Department of Homeland Security just relaxed the rules so you could begin building the wall now, today. It's starting. Is it funded yet? No, not officially, but the rules have been suspended, and some parts of the wall are being reinforced as we speak. Believe me, my number one goal in life is a wall with Mexico, and my number two goal is a wall with California. But Trump has got them scared. Doesn't anybody realize that Obama put the word out in Mexico and Central America? Come to America. We want you. We'll give you food stamps. We'll give you welfare. Your kids will go to school free. Your medical will be free. You'll get Obama phones. My buddy's a border agent. He sent me a photo 4 years ago. He said, "You're not going to believe this photo. We just caught them at the border. 5 guys crossing the border, and look what they're wearing. All 5 of them, very dark skin. They were not Mexican, they were not Hispanic. They were Muslims crossing the border. And all 5 had shirts, hats, and one of them had a shoe, a sneaker, that said Obama on it. They're crossing the border. They're Obama fans. They're wearing his paraphernalia. It's unbelievable. So he put the word out. And by the way, did you know that he spent taxpayer money on advertisements on radio in Mexico in Spanish saying, if you have relatives illegally in America, make sure they know it's okay to come forward and get your food stamps even though you're illegal. It's the sickest things I've ever heard in my life. So, look, I don't want Donald Trump to give in on DACA. What I do want him to do is perhaps negotiate on DACA. If I give you DACA, you have to give me the wall. Don't ever do it without the wall, and don't ever do it without the wall plus an end to birthright citizenship. So it can never happen again. And one more. And so the next step, and if you're not reading my RJ columns, we got to get you reading my RJ columns. I said you can negotiate DACA, but you got to give me the biggest tax increase in history. You got to give me the wall. You got to give me an end to birthright citizenship. Every single person you let in under DACA has got to join the military or they can't become a citizen. Got to join the military. They've all got to learn English. They can never have committed a crime or we deport them immediately. And most importantly, they can never have been found to ever voted or they're deported immediately. Because if they voted, they broke the law. So that's the only circumstance I'd ever allow DACA. But it's not up to me, and it's not up to you. You could be a step stronger than me. It doesn't matter. It's up to Donald Trump and the United States Congress now. And unfortunately, it appears maybe he's getting a little squeaky, and he's giving in a little bit too easily. And we got to make sure we keep the boot on the neck and make sure he knows that his base is not going to stand for any sort of an abandonment of the wall. You know, if he calls himself, and I believe he is, one of the great negotiators in the world, he really is. How did he ever get to be president of the United States? I mean, the guy's an amazing salesman. How can you not understand the only way you're ever going to get the wall, the only way, is with DACA? That's the only chance you got. You can't give them DACA first and then say, we'll get the wall later. That's the worst negotiation I've ever heard. This is your chance to get the wall funded. This is your chance. But anyway, the judges have been great. The border is down. The refugees are way down. Those coming in are Christian. We killed the Paris Accord for climate change. Great stuff. We cut regulations dramatically. He's about to cut taxes dramatically. Again, not the way I would do it. I would cut individual rates to 25% or lower so you'd even be better than Reagan. He's going to go for the corporate rates and pretty much abandon us, I would be willing to bet you, on the individual side, a tiny cut, nothing major, and nothing for those at the top income level, which happens to be every small businessman and woman in America who creates all the jobs. Big mistake. But I'll take what I could get. I'll take the corporate cut and a middle-class tax cut. At least you'll get a few Democrat votes. You'll get Joe Manchin. You'll get Heidi, whatever her name is, in North Dakota. You'll get a few of them. Economy. The economy is roaring back. It's still problematic. I believe without the tax cut and without a repeal of Obamacare, the economy could go right back to trouble. But at the moment, it's showing signs of life because Trump is giving every businessman and woman in America hope. He's done good things. Operation Mega. You know about that? That started this week. It's the biggest roundup of illegals in the history of the United States of America. That started this week. He's going after M13 gangs in Long Island. He is starting the wall. There is some start to the wall. And here's another one that came out yesterday. He's banning visas from countries that refuse to accept the people we're planning to deport. So if Mexico won't accept our deportations, we will no longer allow a visa from an Mexican citizen. He's doing great things. He's not perfect. He's not perfect. And he's giving a lot of hope to the border agents. They love him. Do you know they did a study and the border agents are the most positive they've ever been in history? They also did a study on manufacturers, the most positive in history, and small businessmen and women, the most positive in history. And here's the last good one. The debt is up, unfortunately, $215 billion since Trump became president. But at the same point in time under Obama, it was up $1.2 trillion. So you got to be thankful for little things. See the glass as half full, not half empty. He's not perfect. He's surrounded himself, in my opinion, with some bad people. He's got a lot of rhinos around him, you know. He's got McMaster around him. I can't stand McMaster. He's got Gary Cohen around him. I can't stand Gary Cohen. He's got Steve Mnuchin, who I think is gone now, because Mnuchin asked for the government plane to go on his honeymoon. Mnuchin's done. Those are the Goldman Sachs guys. Bad for you and me. Bad for all of us. Now let me talk about the only things I've seen he's done bad, other than he's surrounded himself with some government swamp-type people. Number one bad thing he's done is he hasn't prosecuted Hillary Clinton. Should have happened, and it still may. It still may. The jury's out, and his Department of Justice decided not to prosecute Lois Lerner of the IRS. Big mistake. But other than that, everything he's done has been great, and he's been blocked by Congress from doing the most important thing, which is the repeal of Obamacare. Overall, pretty darn good. Look, I keep the guns and I keep the pressure up day and night with a national TV show, national radio show, my columns in the RJ. I'm a guest on Fox News. I'm a guest on Newsmax day and night, in addition to having my show on Newsmax TV, which reaches 35 million homes. And if you keep a little secret, within about a month, we'll be in about 60 million homes. So we're becoming the new Fox News. And so lots of things are happening. Last thing I'll do before I say goodbye, I want to read you my Sunday commentary in the Las Vegas Review-Journal. So it's titled, let me take a sip of water here so I don't lose my voice. Remember, I talk 3 hours a day, and today, 5 hours. This speech, it's actually 6 hours. This speech, 3 hours of political talk radio, followed by a 2-hour national sports show that I just landed last week that is called The Vegas Edge with Wayne Allyn Root. That's in 90 cities all over the United States. So 5 hours of radio in front of me today. So you wonder why my voice goes. So the article is titled, Liberal Twins, ESPN and MGM are committing suicide. ESPN offers a cautionary tale. This is going to be in the Vegas paper Sunday. Jim Murin is going to have a heart attack. ESPN offers a cautionary tale about the dangers of Las Vegas casino executives damaging or destroying their brands by offending their core customer base. But more importantly, this is a danger to the entire brand of Las Vegas. Vegas and ESPN have everything in common. ESPN has committed suicide with its obsession with liberal, progressive, politically correct beliefs. The fact is, Vegas's core audience is exactly the same as ESPN's. Vegas's audience has 3 key demographics. Number 1, middle America. Overwhelmingly, this group voted for Donald Trump. Number 2, conventioneers. This group is composed of business owners, business executives, white-collar employees. This group voted overwhelmingly for Donald Trump. And number 3, serious casino and sports gamblers. And I know this group as well as anyone in the world. Long before I got in politics, I was dubbed by the media as America's odds maker and the king of Vegas sports gambling. I've had over 3 million clients who purchased my predictions for who would win and lose football games in the United States of America. And I've studied my customers for 33 years. Sports and casino gamblers are overwhelmingly white, male, macho, and patriotic. These are the people who always stand for the national anthem. Overwhelmingly, this group voted for Donald Trump. Now, ESPN has this exact same audience and demographics. ESPN's president is a moron named John Skipper. John Skipper is a big-time ignorant liberal. He has damaged his brand and ruined his revenues with his arrogance and ignorance about his own audience. ESPN is dying. Cable subscribers for ESPN dramatically down. Ratings dramatically down. Revenues in the toilet. ESPN has award shows that define courage as athletes who used to be men who are now women. ESPN has anchors who call President Trump, you know this just happened this week, who call President Trump a white supremacist and say he was elected only because he's white. ESPN removed a football broadcaster 2 weeks ago of a football game. His name was Robert Lee, and they removed him because they were afraid his name, Robert Lee, would offend people because it would remind them of a Confederate general, Robert E. Lee. But Robert Lee, the announcer, is a 20-something Asian. ESPN fired Curt Schilling for his conservative politics. Outspoken Republican and former NFL great of the New York Giants, Jason Sehorn, was told to stay away from politics on ESPN by the executives. ESPN suspended legendary anchor Linda Cohen for saying in an interview that liberal politics has damaged ESPN's ratings. But ESPN says nothing when liberal hacks like Jameel Hill, that's the gal who said Trump's a white supremacist, and my old TV co-host, because I hosted a show on national TV with Max Kellerman. Max Kellerman outraged ESPN viewers with his radical liberal views. Kellerman opined 2 weeks ago that it's a disgrace that not one white NFL player has kneeled for the national anthem so that they could show their solidarity with black players. That could be the dumbest thing ever said in the history of American business if alienating and destroying your own customer base is important to a business. ESPN President John Skipper has poisoned his brand. He has offended his own customer base. Sports fans tune into sports not to be lectured on Trump, racism, and climate change. I sure hope the board of MGM Resorts International is paying attention because your CEO, Jim Murin, is a John Skipper clone. Just like ESPN, there is a mutiny brewing at MGM. Many dozens of MGM employees have contacted me with inside information. Some have anonymously called my radio talk show. One came to my home to hand deliver the latest company policy on transgenders. Like ESPN employees, conservatives at MGM feel discrimination, intimidation, and intolerance. They fear losing their jobs if anyone finds out they're a conservative. I have a question for MGM. I have a question for everyone in Vegas. Do you think MGM's middle American customer base would be happy to find out you can be openly transgender at MGM, but you have to be a closet conservative to keep your job? MGM employees are outraged and sickened by Murin's actions and statements, by his donations to CARE, an organization tied to Muslim terrorism and called by experts a front for Hamas and the Muslim Brotherhood, by his donations to the Southern Poverty Law Center, an organization that recently put, get this one, 3 of America's most famous military bases on their hate list. They put Fort Bragg, Fort Hood, and Fort Benning on their list of hate that the names must be changed like a Confederate statue taken down. Mr. Murin's employees are most outraged over his troubling transgender policy announced only a month ago. MGM employees believe their CEO is putting the lives of female guests and their children at risk. They predict there will be a tragedy at an MGM property because of this dangerous transgender policy. Can you imagine this in the RJ on Sunday? If 45 million Vegas tourists start to understand that MGM supports Muslim terror co-conspirators, radical leftist groups that define hate as U.S. military bases, and bans employees from questioning 300-pound men entering women's bathrooms, locker rooms, and spas, Vegas will go the way of ESPN. Be very careful, MGM. Jim Murin is putting your brand at risk, and by association, he's putting the entire brand of Vegas at risk. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
I can't wait till Jim Urin reads that one.